All right, I've been sitting here now for 3 hours, really without moving. I moved downstairs to kind of try to wash my clothes, and that didn't work out, and that demotivated me even further. And I'm not feeling particularly well on a Sunday morning, and I am trying to generate YouTube content while I'm extremely unmotivated. And that can be one of the hardest things you have to do is find your creativity, find the ability to work when you don't want to work and when that work is revolves around creativity, because no two videos that I've ever made on YouTube are alike. Every video may have the same constant themes, but they're nothing alike. It's just like turning on the news. I've had people come into my comment section and just say, "Oh, you're a really negative person. Get over it, be positive, and everything will get better." I don't understand where those people live. I don't understand how those people continue to live their lives. If they're genuinely happy or if they've just hypnotized themselves into believing that the world is in a cesspool and we're all drowning in the smell of feet, feces, and God only knows armpits. But with that said, today's video is written, as I often do. I tell ChatGPT to act as a single mother with a billion kids, and she's working a miserable job. And it generates the best content for this particular show. Because you guys know I like making you laugh. That's why there's so many references to getting fleeced. It's for humor. And that's why this channel, I think, is what it is. This is a comedy show with dystopian kind of hints to it, but this is a serious program. And the people that come into my comment section and try to take it seriously or get angry at me because I'm not taking it seriously. I am not offering any solutions for what's happening in our world. There are no solutions, in my opinion. There's only either make fun of it or cry. And I've done more than enough crying already. The crying needs to be done. You're just going to have to laugh at it because, regardless of how much we don't like the world we live in, the world we live in can get much worse. And unfortunately, I think that's where we're going down the path to it getting much, much worse. I believe, like, if you're a person that was just scraping by in the 1970s or in the 1980s, you didn't have much of an education, but you had a work hard attitude, you were going places in life. You were owning a home, you were buying a car, and you were getting married. Now we work 7 days a week, often very long hours, and we have nothing to show for it. In fact, right now, you guys are listening to a person that's working. I get paid to do this, people. I don't do this for free. So, without delaying the introduction to the main video, here are talking points for today. Basic necessities are becoming luxury items. Working harder doesn't mean getting ahead anymore, and the American dream feels like it wasn't made for people like us. That's a big one. All right, so let's start reading some stuff. Again, perspective. Susie Rottencrotch. Too much vitamin D. Too many children. As a single mom, I'm forced to watch every penny, but even that isn't enough. When basics like groceries, rent, and gas keep going up, essentials that should be affordable feel like luxuries. And it's not about budgeting better. It's about an economy that's out of reach for the working class. And this is something I come back to all the time, and it's that management will continue to blame you for not having enough money. My boss does this to me all the time. Every time I complain about the low pay, he just tells me, "Millennial Steam, you just need to have 10 roommates and that will fix your financial problems." And I'm like, really? I'm a grown man expected to live with people who don't have any money, who are completely down and out, and that's why they're renting a room, and you want me to live like them? And that's your solution to my financial problems, is living even worse than I'm living now? And I'm supposed to show up at work, give 110%, and do more, and yet I go home and I still have to work. This is something that management doesn't understand, is that the whole lot of people that work for them have a second or third job, or at least they should. Some people refuse to get a second job. I can understand that. You're tired from your first job. You don't want to try any harder. You think that 40 hours should be enough. But when ordinary things become luxuries like soap, the proletariat needs a lot of soap. They get real sweaty doing the types of work that they do. They need to be able to take a shower every day, at least twice a day, in my opinion, 3 times a day if you're like me on the weekend, because normally right now I'd be finishing up my chest workout, but instead I'm sitting here like a glob of unmotivated junk because I drank too much last night. I won't sugarcoat it. I drank too much last night, and here I am sitting hungover, feeling like crap, and thinking to myself, I'm gonna have to budget my money in order to get enough Pearl beer to last me until my next paycheck. Just in case you're interested, the donation button's right there. Remember, give it a thumbs up and hit the like. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything to like the video, and I have to tell you guys to do that because no one's hitting like on the videos. So anyhow, that's enough of that. So when corporations tell their workers that they need to budget their money better, it's often under the uh, stipulation that they make enough money to live off. Like I remember seeing a budget at one of my jobs where it told you how much money you should be spending on rent. And in this little pamphlet that they gave the employees on how to survive, it said that you should be paying about $300 for rent. What is this? The 1930s? Nowhere is $300 for rent. Hell, the electric bill is $300 for most people during the summer, and it's even gotten higher than that, depending on how big your house is. My tiny little shoebox home still costs a significant amount in order to keep it cool because right now I haven't turned the AC on. It's nearly November and it was almost 100 degrees yesterday. I had the AC cranked up in my car to level 3 because it was so damn hot. But anyhow, um, the this economy is destroying all of us. And regardless of who wins the election next week, which for all intents and purposes, I hate to say this, guys, but our orange orangutan more than likely has it in the hole. So I didn't like saying that in 2016. It was my last year of college when this happened. It was a catastrophe, but that's the way it's looking. Anyhow, moving on to talking point number 2. I'm working long hours and still just barely scraping by. There's this idea that if you put in the effort, you'll achieve stability. But today, even with full time hours, extra side jobs, and cutting every possible expense, the money I make can't keep up with the cost of living. It's just not enough. I'm gonna say this till I'm blue in the face, not just from drinking, but just in the face. It's not enough to keep up with the rising costs of living. And I mean, I'm talking living here. I'm not talking living as in the sense that you aren't worried about money. I worry about money every second of the day. You're worried about everything. I worry about the Promobile not starting in the morning. I worry that I'm not going to make it to my next paycheck before I get fired and therefore I won't be able to pay my rent. And then I'll have to figure it out because I think about this all the time. What am I going to do when I lose my primary job? It's not that easy to replace a job like this, and this is why I haven't because every job that I look at pays significantly less. And I couldn't imagine being like Gen Zero right now, where what you make is what you spend on rent. And the cost of living goes up every single day. Every time you go to the grocery store, it's more expensive. Prices aren't going down. Regardless of what they say in the media about inflation, that it's stabilizing, that it's getting under control, most of us haven't had a significant raise in many years. And it's intentional because a happy proletariat is not a proletariat that's full of people who are trying to work their way out of being poor. Most of us don't want to be poor. We don't choose to be poor. Poverty is forced on us like a blanket full of STDs and crotch crispies. Pick one. And we have to wear it. It's not like we have another choice. There is no plan B for being a person without means. You just have to accept the fact that you're going to wake up every morning. You're going to wake up hungover like me. You're going to look in your wallet. You're going to see what's there. You're going to think to yourself, oh my God, I don't have enough money to live. And then you think, I'm not living, I'm surviving. I've been surviving my whole entire adult life. I haven't lived a single day. There hasn't been a day I've woken up in my entire life and thought, you know what, I'm going to be okay. Every day, I wonder what's going to break the bank. I wonder if I'm gonna get a flat tire that I can't afford to fix, if I'm not gonna be able to afford to put gas in my car, what I'm going to be forced to eat that day because it's cheap enough. Yesterday, I ended up buying Burger King after I went to the gym, and I still feel disgusted by eating Burger King breakfast. Their lunch isn't as bad, but ugh, Burger King for breakfast is super gross. But I needed to eat something quickly because I had to be somewhere at 10 o'clock in the morning, and now I regret that decision so terribly. Like the decision to get out of bed. In fact, I'm probably going to climb back into bed after I'm done making this video because I feel that terrible. At least when you're in bed, you don't have to think about anything else. You just lay there and you accept the fact that this is it. I'm just going to lay here like a glob of jelly and I am just going to be. And you're just going to stare at the ceiling like I have many times. It's actually something that I've done a lot throughout my life, is just lay in my bed and stare at the ceiling and think, you know, life isn't going to get much better for you. And then you think about being alone. Then you think about shaking hands with the governor. And you think about how underwhelming shaking hands with the governor is. Then you think about going to the hub. Then you think about shaking hands with the governor again. And it's a vicious cycle of Mr. Happy popping up, Mr. Happy going down. And you think, why would anyone have a tool this small? All right, moving on to our next talking point. So here we go. When we think of the American dream, it's a vision of a secure future, home ownership and stability. But for single parents, it's hard to imagine even reaching that. The dream has shifted from getting ahead to simply getting by. And for many of us, even that's a struggle. A secure future. I haven't felt like I had a secure future since the moment I came screaming into this world and I realized I'm not rich. That means I'm going to suffer for the rest of my life. That's what being born poor means. The lack of opportunity to be rich means you are going to suffer every single day of your life. Every day is going to be the worst day of your life when you have to work at Evil Corp. And you can't get used to it. It's like going to hell. And that's what work is. Every day is worse than the day before. And if you think you can get out of it by not working, you think you can get out of it by running into oncoming traffic, whatever way you think of getting out of it, you're probably just going to make things worse. Because no one has a secure future. Your job, your relationship, and your bitter end working until they put you into the Pine Box retirement community, even that seems like it's too much work. The secure future is only for people with means. For the rest of us, we'll live down here like disgusting pigs, uh, you know, jumping into the mud and wallowing in the mud, well, wallowing around in self pity for the rest of our lives, convincing ourselves that we're happy by smiling on the outside, when the reality is that we're not happy. We're very unhappy. And when we smile at other people, it's probably because we want something. I asked Mela this morning what she thinks of men that buy her food, and she said, when a man buys me food, I think he wants something from me. And I had another person that I was talking to a few months ago, and she said that the whole world's about two things. money, and getting it on. And it's true. Sometimes we feed the cow to get some love. That's really what it comes down to. Is you feed the cow from the front and you give it to the cow from the back. I mean, that's just the reality of things. Home ownership, not likely. I've lived in this piece of crap apartment for 7 years, and I know they will never, ever let me out. You know why? Because I'll never make enough to get out. I'll never have the credit I need to buy a house. I'll never have the money for a down payment. And hell, who would sell a house to a person this deeply in debt? No one. I mean, it's hard for me to get a bank account, let alone own a home. And this is as good as it gets. Home ownership used to be the rock of our living. It's the way to wealth, right? Real estate is the way towards wealth. And then you think about that's been blocked off by the incredible cost of housing and the incredibly miserable wages for the proletariat. If you have a house right now, consider yourself to be very lucky because that luxury isn't going to be extended for very many more generations. In fact, I'm an evolutionary dead end. I'm not going to have children. I'm not going to have a home. I'm never going to have a nice promobile. And that makes you think about what's the point. So when you think about stability, you think about going to a job that you can tolerate doing. I can't. I haven't been able to tolerate my job since day one. It's mindless, it's repetitive. There's no career path anywhere. There's nothing to it other than burn out, quit, or get fired. That is the stability you have down in the proletariat. Everyone is disposable. Yet you were told that you were essential, but you knew you were always disposable. When I lift up my arm and I smell my armpit, you know what I smell? How disposable I am. When I scratch myself and I smell that odor, oh, that's disposable. That's what I think about. But getting ahead uh, it is just not possible. I mean, no matter how much you work at the wages where they're at right now, it is impossible to get ahead. And for many of us, that struggle is feeling more concrete. It's feeling more difficult to accept the fact that there's nothing that we can do. Many of us tried going to school to get out of this. Many of us tried anything that we could to get out of this. And like I said in a previous video, it's either connections, family, or crime, I believe were the three that I said that was the only way out. If you don't have those things in order to get you out of hourly work and into a job in which it's more of something that you want to do. And I think that today's kids, especially now, no one really wants to think about working for 60 years in a job you hate. Most people want to do something that doesn't feel like it's crushing your soul every day like regular work does. We want to wake up, feel the stability of life, and be able to go do things. We want to be able to go and live. But the reality of it is this constant struggle is wearing us down to the point where we don't want to struggle anymore. We're tired of the struggle. And moving forward in a society that demonizes poor people, because it really does. You're called into question when you're not successful, but the path to success is blocked and lined with rabid dogs and barbed wire and Susie Rottencrotch and hands that come out of the ground to grab your ankles. I mean, that's the path there. And for the very few that make it there, the self made millionaires, you're always going to come to find out that there was a hand there. A hand to give them access, something that pulled them over instead of going through the gauntlet of poverty to get to wealth. They got to fly right over it. Or someone just reached down, picked them up, and put them into a better situation. But for the vast majority of us who will not get that hand in helping us out, we will just stay here and we will struggle. And we will struggle for the rest of our lives until there's no struggle left in us. And someday someone's going to come around a corner and be like, why is Millennial Steam not as bitter as he normally is at his desk? And your boss will come up and tap you and be like, oh my God, Millennial Steam passed at his desk and no one noticed. I noticed, will say someone in another desk, because he smells even worse than he normally does. He's decomposing in real time, yet his hands are still animated, so they're still typing on the keyboard. That's going to be my bitter end. And that's a good way to go. Just the way that rich people envision the proletariat going, working until the last possible second to generate revenue for them.